everyone. I hope you all are doing fine. Let's get started with part 2, chapter 1, what, where, how and when. So in the last session, we covered the first 3 parts, finding out what happened, what can we know about the past, where did the people live. In today's session, we are going to start off with the names of the land. And even before I get started, I would like you guys to have a look at the map. This is a world map. So if you see the green section here, that is Iran. This green section that you see, this is Iran. And the people from Iran, they're known as Iranians. I've got a history related to them. Similarly, if you see this area that I'm going to highlight, this section here, the people living here, they were known as Greeks, and this area itself is known as Greece. Not to forget that I want to talk about another country, an extra bit of information. This is Sweden, which has nothing to do with this chapter, but just an extra bit of information where you have Sweden. So the people of Greece and the people of Iran, I'm going to talk about them in this story that I'm going to narrate. So India has been named after the river Indus. Yes, our country that's got 2 names, the first being India and the second one being Bharat. This Bharat has its own history which we'll talk about in due course. But India comes from the word Indus, which is a very important river. And it's also called Sindhu, S for Sindhu, and remember, S is Sanskrit. In Sanskrit, this river is known as Sindhu River. We've already talked about this Indus River coming from Mansarovar near Mansarovar Lake, originating from there, entering India and crossing Pakistan. So way back, the Iranians and the Greeks who came to India through the northwest, somewhere around 2,500 years ago. Yes, 2,500 years ago, these people, Iranians and the Greeks, when they came to India, they became quite familiar with this river. So they started to call this river as Hindos, or they started to call it as Indus, because their pronunciation was quite different to what Indians had. So that is how the land to the east of this river right here, it got its name as India. So here, Greeks and Iranians played a very, very important role. Similarly, when I talk of this word Bharat, the word Bharat comes from a group of people who lived in the northwest, who lived here in the northwest. Those group of people, they were known as Bharata. And we've got their mention, they've been mentioned in one of the very, very ancient religious texts of Hindu religion that was written in Sanskrit. That's called Rig Veda. So these Vedas, they are the religious texts, the oldest available literature, the oldest scriptures when it comes to Hinduism. And I'll also give you some extra bit of information. We've got 4 Vedas: Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sam Veda, and of course, Atharva Veda. These are the 4 Vedas, and the Rig Veda has the mention of the group of people living in the northwest of India as Bharata. So it's also around 3,500 years ago the scriptures were written. Now let's see, where do we find evidence of all these scriptures? How do we read them? Where do we get to know? From where exactly do we get to know about the past? We've learned about the lands. Now we are going to talk about the past. How do we learn about the past? There might be some source. There might be some books. Yes. In order to learn more about the past, there are things that were written way, way back. And those written stuff was in this form. It was called as manuscripts. Now this word manuscripts comes from a Latin word manu, M-A-N-U or manu, which means, in Latin, it means hand. So people usually used to write these scriptures with hand, and they made use of palm leaves to write them. They either used the palm leaves or they used the bark of a very special tree that grows in Himalayas. So the bark of that tree they prepared was known as birch. This is how they usually used to prepare their books. This is how they usually used to write the stuff. Either on palm leaves or on the bark of the special tree found somewhere in Himalayas. But there was a problem when we talk about manuscripts. They were quite fragile, which means they could be easily destroyed by the insects. So they had to be preserved carefully. So yes, we managed to preserve all these manuscripts that we even read today in temples. And we also preserve them in monasteries, the place, a religious place where monks live, where they perform their religious ceremonies. I'll show you a picture of a monastery. It looks somewhere like this. So these books, the manuscripts, the text, it deals with different issues, different subjects. It could be religious, it could be something related to science, could be related to the life of king. It might even contain poems, plays, and much more. Now, what are the languages that we used when we happened to write these manuscripts? We use three important languages. First is Sanskrit, but that was very difficult for the ordinary people to understand. So we had to move on to another language that is called Prakrit, which was easy for the ordinary people to read and understand. And the third language being Tamil. Now we've already talked about manuscripts. Now let's have a look on what do you understand about inscription. There might be some difference when I talk about inscriptions and manuscripts. We just discussed that these manuscripts, they were written on the piece of leaf or maybe on the bark of the tree. Correct? But if I talk of inscriptions, like you can see right here, this is inscription, a classic example of inscription, where we've got writings, where we've got details of something written on a hard surface. So this hard surface could either be stone or it could also be a metal. So generally the kings used to order, hey, write about my orders, talk about my victories, keep a record of all them in this form so that everybody could read. Right? So that is the difference, the most important difference if your teacher asks what's the difference between inscriptions and manuscripts. It's easy to destroy manuscripts. But comparatively, inscriptions, they are less fragile. They're written on hard surface. It could be a stone, it could be a metal. Now, there are many things that we need to know about the past, and we'll be helped by some group of people who are known as archaeologists. Right? They're sitting right in front of this cave to study the remains of this cave. They're going to make sure they study about the stones, about the bricks. And if there exists some paintings inside, some sculptures. Yes, they might even read about the sculptures there if they found one. If they happen to find sculptures, they'll read about it. They'll try to explore and dig deep into the surface of earth. That is called, they're going to excavate to find any remains, tools, weapons, pots, ornaments, or even coins to study them. They might even study more about this baked clay, something if they found related to the metal. Why they look after all these things? Because they are imperishable. They survive for long. As compared to the bones, as compared to the food that people used to eat, or maybe the plants. So they are going to dig deep, they're going to excavate the remains to study them. But if I talk of what people used to eat, the grains, the wood that they used, we might not find them in its original form. They might be burnt and they survive in that charred form. Burnt, that is black in color. So that means the buildings and all the material that gives some evidence of the past is being understood, is being studied in detail by the archaeologist. But if I talk about the historians, they perform a different job. They are more like detectives. They refer to the information provided by the archaeologist in the form of manuscripts, in the form of inscriptions, and then try to join the dots bit by bit, bit by bit, bit by bit to construct the story. They look for clues about our past and construct a story. They're being helped by the archaeologists to do so. So maybe historians, maybe archaeologists, they try to join the dots bit by bit to frame a story. But historians, they're more like scholars who study the past using the sources of information. But the archaeologists, they study objects. Alright, they study more about, they're related more to the information part, whereas the archaeologists, they study the objects. Alright, so that's all for today's session. We've covered part, names of the land, we've talked about finding out about the past. Now these two topics we'll cover in the next session. Please stay tuned, press the subscribe button and also comment below. In case you like the session, I hope to see you soon. Bye. Thank you.